What's going on, guys? It's New Bark Gaming back here, and welcome to New Bark News for February 20th in 2019. Now, starting off today's news feed, we've got a couple new games that have been announced for the Nintendo Switch. First of which is going to be a game called Baba Is You, which is essentially a puzzle game based around trying to change the rules in order to get past certain obstacles within the environment you're dealing with. For example, if you had the phrase "fire is hot" on your screen, you then may be able to take the block that the word like hot, which is an adjective, written in, then switch it out for another adjective like, I don't know, maybe safe, which would then, after you rearrange those words, create a new rule like fire is safe, and then you'd be able to walk through said flame to progress to wherever it is that you're trying to go. The other new game that we got announced is called Black Future 88, and the basic premise of this is it's like a post-apocalyptic quote unquote 1988, because part of the description that goes along with the trailer is that they've kind of stopped keeping track of time because of the circumstances they're living in. And basically, it was caused by a character called the Architect that now sits atop this tower that they are always working on changing. Your objective is to climb to the top of the tower in order to stop the Architect. From what we can tell, it's a 2D action platformer game with some shooting mechanics. Reminds me a lot of like 2D roguelikes we've been seeing a lot. Gameplay wise, it even reminds me a little bit of something sort of like a Risk of Rain type of game from what I've seen of that. Good news is it's also got co-op locally and both in docked and undocked mode, which is really awesome. It's a Nintendo Switch exclusive, and the cinematics included in this trailer have a really neat art style, kind of reminiscent of like Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, or even maybe a little bit of like the Boondocks. Seems like it's going to be a really great game, guys, and both of these trailers can be found on Nintendo's YouTube channel. So with that being said, let's go and move on to our first article of the day. And this one's going to be coming to us from Games Radar. Now, Final Fantasy 15 was a game that launched a few years ago from massive publisher Square Enix, and there were supposed to be 4 more different DLCs still coming out for it, but 3 of them have now been canceled, which really sucks considering that there was a season pass available for this game, and you will still get this new DLC titled Episode Arden for free with well, not for free, but along with the season pass. But that would be extremely frustrating to me if I was a season pass holder, considering when I got the season pass, I was probably counting on there still being those other 3 items that I was paying for, and now it's canceled. Doesn't seem to necessarily be any indication yet of there being compensation to the players who got the season pass, but I would certainly hope Square Enix does something about that, because in a lot of ways that's almost false advertising, to be honest. But anyway, in terms of this DLC, I've yet to play Final Fantasy 15. It does sound like it's really cool. Square Enix rarely puts out a game that's not at least, you can tell they put in a lot of effort to make a quality game, at least try to make a quality game, and I doubt their DLCs are any different. It sounds like it expands on the lore and the story of the game, which is one of the big draws of Final Fantasy, so having an expansion to that is always cool. This is also a prequel to the main game. It's set 35 years but prior to the main game, and it's supposed to feature some new battle mechanics and interactions and those types of things. So it sounds like it's going to be a good DLC, but once more, it really stinks to see the rest of them canceled, especially if you're a season pass holder. So let's go and move on to our second article of the day. This is going to be coming to us from GameSpot, and apparently the PlayStation Vita has been finally announced to end production soon in Japan. Now, as a big-time Vita fanboy like I am, this is extremely disappointing to somebody like me, but it's something that we had to see coming. I mean, we've had PlayStation Plus free games discontinued for it after March of this year, and it's just a console that's kind of been on its last legs for a while now. Sony announced several years ago that they weren't really focused on it anymore, so it just sucks to see it finally kind of standing on its last limbs. I do believe in the years to come, the Vita will probably be remembered pretty fondly in a similar fashion to like the Sega Dreamcast, where it never really took off in terms of the industry and selling super well, but in retrospect, a lot of people realize, hey, there were a lot of really good games for it, and this was a pretty darn cool piece of technology for its time. Of course, only time will tell, and as a Vita lover, this is always a sad day for me. So let's go ahead and move on to our third article for the day. And this one, coming to us straight from Polygon, is actually going to pull us right back into the whole Square Enix thing, with them apparently just kind of dropping the name of a new game that they're working on titled Last Idea. And this is supposedly probably just going to be some sort of an RPG. We don't know a whole lot about it necessarily. We just know that they have a trademark around it. They have an artist known as Wind working alongside the game that's worked within Square Enix several times before, including contributing character designs to Grimace Notes. And it just sounds like the Last Idea game is an RPG that they've got in development. It sort of strikes me, based on the idea that this Wind artist person is working on it, that it might quite well be a mobile game. It's that in tandem with the fact that it didn't get like a major announcement type of trailer, and we already know that they've got Oninaka coming to the Switch later this year, so they probably got already pretty big major project in store, and Square Enix is always cranking out these pretty massive games. So the fact that this one sort of just flew under the radar to some extent, they weren't making a big deal around it, strikes me as it's definitely in that mobile game category, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, just because it's a mobile game doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, and once more, Square Enix rarely puts out a game that's outright terrible without some at least interesting features. So this is always pretty cool to hear. And unfortunately, guys, that's actually going to about wrap it up for today. I was having trouble finding articles that I felt were really all that interesting to report upon. So with all that being said, it's going to wrap it up for today's New Bark News. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. If not, constructive criticism is always welcome. Bear in mind, you can also listen to these videos on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I'll catch you guys next time on New Bark News.